Greetings adventurers, this is Lauren Gaming, and welcome to my review and spoiler discussion of Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Familia Chronicle, Episode Review. That's a long title, so we're just going to call it Episode Review from now on. My first ever review and discussion on Light Novel 11 was split into two separate videos, the first being the general review, and the second being the spoiler discussion video. But you guys suggested that I just put them in the same video, with putting the spoiler discussion in the latter half and warning that I will be delving into spoiler territory. So from now on, that's what the format's going to be, and I'll put a timestamp in the description if you just want to hear the spoiler details. Familia Chronicle Episode Review is written by the main series author Fujino Omori and illustrated by Niritsu, the first time they ever worked on illustrations for DanMachi. But again, the illustrations are still based on the character designs by Susuhito Yasuda. And as always, the light novels are translated and published by Yen Press. Originally, the first part of this volume, the Grand Casino story, was published as a short story in the Gangan magazine, which is the main publisher for the DanMachi series. The novel is split into two parts, with that Grand Casino story being the first one, and an original story being written to make up the latter portion of the volume. Before you read Episode Review, I do advise that you read Volume 6 of the main series, because this does reference past events that happen in that volume. So definitely give that book a read before delving into Episode Review, if you don't want to be spoiled on that content. The Grand Casino story is a tale that brings us outside the dungeon setting and puts us into the shoes of Ryu, who still sticks to her sense of justice. I liked how we get a glimpse into how Ryu lives her life now, and how she still has that calling to help others even though she's blacklisted by the guild due to what she's done in the past. In the other volumes of DanMachi, Ryu is presented as an adventurer with a dark past, but we always see her as a strong and confident figure. But being able to see Ryu's point of view shows us that she still has her own struggles, but is still able to carry out her task in her usual dignified manner. Putting us in the perspective of Ryu is a welcome change, because Belle is still a novice adventurer, and with Oz and Lafia, we mainly see them doing stuff in the dungeon itself. But here in Ryu's story, we get to see a glimpse into what happens in the city of Arario and the crime that takes place in it. With this story, the author expands the city of Arario and builds the world around it as well, mentioning other countries and adventurers, making you realize that this universe really is more than just one city and a dungeon. The story also continues that trend that we saw with Volume 7 of the series, where we got to see an uglier side to Arario. Bringing the setting to a casino is quite the radical change from the rest of DanMachi, but I think it works as a way to show us how even in a city full of powerful adventurers, there are still ways the city itself can fail in regards to corruption. Even though this volume is titled Episode Review, one particular character that stands out in this volume in the first story is Seer. I'll save any specifics for the spoiler discussion, but Seer really proved why she is a force to be reckoned with, despite not being an adventurer. I am legitimately scared of Seer now. She also serves as a great counterbalance to Ryu's direct and blunt attitude, with her comforting yet teasing demeanor. I thoroughly enjoyed the Grand Casino story, and it really made me appreciate Ryu's character even more, which is saying something because she's already my favorite character. Learning about her past and how it links with many returning characters in this story shows us how much Omori-sensei puts into this universe when building it. I do like how this novel is a change of scenery, and I wouldn't mind if Omori-sensei were to explore other parts of the main city itself, or maybe even the areas outside of Arario even more for future material. I do know he's done that for Volume 8, and I can't wait to see what other stuff he brings to the table there. The second story is the telling of how Ryu and the other workers at the Benevolent Mistress end up working there. This is another fun story that shows us an extremely vulnerable Ryu who is at a turning point in her life and how she has to adjust from that. We also get a delve into the past of the other workers like Chloe, Renoa, and Anya, as well as the head of the Benevolent Mistress herself, Mamma Mia. Despite how serious the struggles between Ryu and the other characters in this story were, the author managed to lighten up the mood, and he is easily able to maintain and establish a chemistry between all the characters. There is a good amount of funny moments in this particular story, as I found myself laughing with the scenes including Mamma Mia, as well as the interactions between Chloe, Renoa, and Anya. If you are interested not just in Ryu's character, but the other waitresses who work at the Benevolent Mistress, then this second story in the volume will be to your liking. I mentioned how Niritsu is the illustrator for this Familia Chronicle series, and I really do like his art style. The illustration of Ryu on the front cover is probably my favorite official picture of Ryu. It's even my phone's wallpaper right now. At times, the main illustrator Susuhito Yasuda's artwork has some awkward proportions, but Niritsu's style is very well defined and really brings out the beauty in the female characters. And I do think he does a good job of drawing the male characters distinctly as well. I'm excited to see Niritsu's takes on the other characters and possible future volumes of the Familia Chronicle series. If I had any complaints about the volume itself, I found that sometimes the games at the casino were a bit over-explained, but at the same time, it never became a chore to read through. Also, the author does lightly touch upon the past of a few of the characters here, but they were mainly done with exposition, and I wish we got to see a little bit more of that, given how short this volume was in content compared to the rest of the books. But I do understand that the focus of this volume was on Ryu, so it might not have been the right place to go very deep into the past of the other characters. Perhaps we'll visit them again in a future volume. But overall, I found episode Ryu a fun read that explores Ryu's past and her struggles as she still clings to that sense of justice and how she carries that out. And that wraps up my general review of the episode Ryu light novel. If you enjoyed Ryu's character or would like to learn more about the other characters who work at the Benevolent Mistress Pub, or as it's called, the Hostess of Fertility in DanMachi, then I highly suggest reading this book. As I said before, make sure to read volume 6 of the main series beforehand. So now I'm going to be delving into the actual book itself and start the spoiler discussion. If you're here just for the general review, I'd like to thank you for watching this video and expect a future review for Sword Art Oratoria Volume 6, which came out the same day as episode Ryu, but it might take a few days for me to release that review, as I'll be busy with the DanMachi updates coming tomorrow on June 28th. But again, thank you so much for watching this video if you're just here for the review, and please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this, and follow me on Twitter, and join my Discord for any discussion. And now on to the spoiler discussion. One of the things that was touched upon in this volume is Ryu's past with Estrella Familia. Now one of the characters that she interacted with in Estrella Familia the most was Alize, the leader of it. We do get to see some lines that Alize has said to Ryu, and it's very interesting. I really wish we got to see more of her. In general, and with episode Ryu and reading it, I really want to know more about Alize's character and the rest of Estrella Familia. Like, in the afterword, the author said that he's interested in making more of the Familia Chronicle series, but maybe moving around the focus from different characters. He alludes to Freya Familia in the afterword and how he might explore that in the next Familia Chronicle episode, but he does say he might cycle back and go through characters that have been done before, like Ryu. With episode Ryu, it really makes me think that a series just involving Estrella Familia and Ryu's time in it would be a really interesting read, but that might be too much for the author because he's already doing the main series, Sword Art Oratoria, supervising the DanMachi game, as well as the upcoming movie and season 2 of the anime, so that's a lot to work with, and he barely has time to work on the next Familia Chronicle, because I believe episode Ryu came out in Japan probably more than a year ago, and here we are a year and a half later, and still he has yet to write another Familia Chronicle novel. So a series about Estrella Familia is way out there, but I really do wish that we could see more of those characters in that Familia. And a common thing that seems to be explored in the main series, and again here in episode Ryu, is how a lot of the people around Ryu know that she really doesn't belong as a waitress, and what she really wants to do is just go out there and help people. But because she's blacklisted by the guild, she can't do that. And again, that brings me back to the cover of volume 13, where we see Ryu featured along with Belle, and I really want to see where that goes. I just want to know. I just want to know. But again, volume 13 is just one of those things I'm really looking forward to whenever we do get to that in the main series, because there's just so many things that need to be addressed involving Ryu still, like where is Estrella, because it says in the novel here that Estrella was asked by Ryu to leave the city, so as of right now Ryu's Falna is locked to the Estrella goddess and she won't be able to move to another Familia without Estrella's help. And again, the novels do address that there are remnants of the evil still around, and since Ryu is a main character that is very much linked to them, she still has a big part to play in regards to the plot line that's still opened with the remnants of the evils. There are a few surprising characters we got to see here. One of them is Osfi, and Osfi doesn't really have that much of a role in this novel itself, but she does give Ryu the information that she needs about the casino, and she even gets her own illustration dedicated to that scene. And I do like the illustrator's take on Osfi there. She does look very attractive, especially in the thigh area. Other characters I liked included in here were Mord and Belle. Belle especially, he was very funny to see in this volume. He's super lucky apparently when it comes to the casino, just winning non-stop. Very amusing to see everyone's reactions to Belle just continuously winning, with Ryu's like, oh no, this is going to end badly, and then sure enough, Belle gives Ryu enough money for her to work with to get noticed and get into that VIP room with Terry. And again, as I mentioned before in my previous review, Mord is just a fun character. I like how he wasn't just regulated to being the villain of the day and then being forgotten about, how he's actually developed and become a fun character for Belle to be around. And as for Seer's part in this first Grand Casino story is very terrifying. I don't want to mess with Seer at all. Like, they show that she's able to just read the expression of people and just basically guess what's in their hand. And everyone just gets totally scared of her, calling her a witch. And then at the very end of that Grand Casino story, we see Seer just whisper Freya Familia into Ted's face, and he just gets spooked to high heaven. I do like how they link the main villain of the casino story to Ryu's past. How before in the Estrella Familia they helped fight crime with Ganesha Familia, who was the police force in Arario. And how Ted once before asked for mercy from the Estrella goddess, but obviously he hasn't learned his lesson, and he gets owned by Ryu. I do like how Ryu's experience as an adventurer leads her to open that vault with her magic, because she knows even though the vault is made of adamantite, it's not pure adamantite from the lower levels, it's from the upper levels, and making it easier for her to use her magic to just break through it. It's a very fun scene, and very terrifying if you're on the other side of that scene being Ted, to see Ryu just blast that whole vault open with her magic, and knowing that you're trapped with nothing to do. And again, with other characters that are included here, like I mentioned before, Ganesha Familia, what is the police force in Arario, and so it's nice to see that Ryu has a friendship with Shakti, or at least an acknowledgement of Shakti, and Shakti is able to let Ryu go, knowing who Ryu is, and knowing that Ryu really isn't there to do anything bad per se, but bust up some crime. Like, hey, we were trying to get this guy this whole time, now you just waltz in here, make some trouble, and get him for us? Okay, whatever. Like, yeah, that's Ryu for you. She can't do things the legal way, so this is how she's got to do it. And at the very end of the casino story, we see that Anna fell for the disguised Ryu, who's currently still looking like a man. And then Ryu, of course, shows that she is a woman, and then shocks Anna and makes her depressed. But that also does bring down Ryu's self-esteem as a woman, and that just brings up one of my favorite scenes, probably my favorite scene in this book. And that leads Belle to comfort Ryu, who was in doubt of her femininity, by saying, I also want to see what you look like in a gown someday. When I try to imagine it, I think you look very pretty. And that just made my heart skip a beat. Well, maybe not my heart skip a beat, but just made me really, really excited, because I love Ryu, and it's nice to see her be a bit embarrassed by Belle. I kind of do ship them together because she's my favorite character and he is the MC. But I do know that this story is likely headed in the direction where he's going to get together with Eyes, and that's completely fine. If Belle is happy with Eyes and Eyes is happy with Belle, I'm not there to argue, but I do wish for Ryu to be happy in this story. But that leads her to work up the courage to ask Belle to train with her in the mornings, because earlier in the very beginning of this book, we see that Ryu hesitates on wanting to invite Belle because she's not sure if that would fly with Seer. But she decided to be a little bit selfish on her part, which is good for her because she's always thinking about other people and not enough for herself. So Belle and Ryu have agreed to train on occasion, and I do like that a lot. And in the second part of the story, we do get a closer glimpse into who Chloe and Lunoa and Anya are, with Chloe being a previous assassin who's from actually outside Arario. Lunoa and Chloe both are from areas outside of Arario, so it's cool to see the places outside of Arario still remaining relevant, how there are adventurers outside but not usually as powerful. They're probably two of the most powerful adventurers coming from outside Arario, being at level 4, because mainly you get the XP from going to the dungeon. They do mention in the book how Chloe is the assassin and Lunoa is the bounty hunter, and how when they went into the city, their jobs got a lot tougher, because Arario is just a den full of more powerful adventurers than you would ever find outside of Arario. I do like how we see how Ryu becomes a waitress here, and how Seer comforts her, and proves to Ryu that even though what Ryu might have done, destroying an entire familia that was linked to the evils, and some of the corrupt guild members and merchants that were involved in that, despite exterminating them, and how she thinks that goes against her sense of justice, and how she did that and became empty after exacting her revenge, because killing all those people isn't going to bring back her familia. So she felt empty inside and didn't know where to go from there. But Seer goes ahead and comforts her and tells her, well, look at the city now, Ryu. Before it was in a dark place with the evils running rampant, but because of you and the other people in the Stray Familia and Ganesha Familia, the city is a bit happier now. and she shows how people are actually playing outside now, when before it was just a quiet place, people would remain indoors. And Ryu sees that, and she finds a new reason to live again, to just be able to protect that peace that is in Rario right now. And that again brings up the point where I do want her to eventually step outside of Benevolent Mistress, because it's clear that she does want to do more in her life than just remain a waitress there. I do like a lot of scenes with Mia, because we do know now that she's the former head of Familia, and that's why she's just so powerful. Very, very funny whenever she's in a scene, because Ryu knows she stands no chance. And at the very end, when Chloe and Rinoa and Anya are all fighting together, you just knew that Mamma Mia was going to come in and intervene with that and just bring the house down and bring down punishment to them. It was a very amusing scene to see there. But with Rinoa and Chloe, we do discover that they've been bouncing from Familia to Familia to update their status. And when they went to Arario, we found that they settled on the gods Demeter and Njordur. And both those gods do ask them if they just want to stop being a bounty hunter and assassin, because Chloe and Rinoa both do declare that they, after this one job of finishing the job with hunting Ryu, that they want to stop what they're doing and just settle down. But of course, we know that they end up just working as Benevolent Mistress, because Mamma Mia ain't letting them go anywhere else. And for the last character that got their background increased, we know that Anya is a level 4 adventurer who used to be named Vana Alfie. And her brother is Alan Frommel, who's known as Vana Freya, who is a level 6 adventurer in Familia. So we don't have a clarification on what Anya's past Familia was. It's probably Familia, but I won't say that for sure because we don't know that quite yet. But we do know that there's some baggage there, because she says she hasn't heard that name in a long time, so she probably doesn't have a good connection with her brother anymore. That's kind of sad. We do know that a lot of the waitresses in the Benevolent Mistress do have some dark past, as you can see with Ryu, Chloe, and now Rinoa. But again, that does make me want to know more about Familia and its past with Mia, and possibly Anya and her brother. So hopefully the next Familia Chronicle will be about Familia. We'll just have to wait and see. But that pretty much does it for my spoiler discussion about episode Ryu. The things I really took away from it was Ryu's past, and how she still has that sense of justice, and how I think that eventually in the main series that she's going to stop being a waitress and just pursue that justice again. We don't know how exactly that's going to happen, because she's still blacklisted by the guild, but perhaps there's been enough time for something like that to be on the flip side, to slide a little bit, you know? And again, I do like how we got more background information about Seer, Rinoa, Anya, and Mamma Mia, and hopefully that's explored a bit more in the future installment, possibly Familia's episode. But anyway guys, what did you think about episode Ryu? What was your favorite part? Did you have any favorite standout scenes? Maybe a favorite character, or a standout character outside of Ryu, like I mentioned before? Seer now scares me. But yes, what did you take away from this novel, guys? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Like I said before, I'll be working on Sword Art Oratoria Volume 6 and that review, so be on the lookout for that in the future. It might not come that soon because I'll be working on .memo stuff, because the update is again hitting tomorrow, but make sure to be on the radar for that, guys. But again guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what you see here, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter and join my Discord for any DanMachi discussion. And as always, continue enjoying your time adventuring in Mario and the dungeon. This is Lauren Gaming, signing out.